It was an ordinary Saturday afternoon when Lieutenant Sarah Hayes stepped into a local grocery store in downtown Portland. She was dressed casually in a simple t-shirt and jeans, blending into the crowd of everyday shoppers. Her appearance did not hint at her role, leading a team of soldiers, making tough decisions in high-pressure situations. Today, however, Sarah was simply a woman who had come to buy groceries after a long week of work. As she turned down an aisle, her peace was disturbed by a small, but telling incident. Officer James Parker, tall and in uniform, accidentally knocked over a carton of eggs. Instead of acknowledging his mistake, he casually walked away, leaving the mess behind him. Sarah watched, unable to ignore the blatant disregard for his surroundings. Her training had taught her that integrity and accountability were non-negotiable. She took a breath and approached the officer. "Excuse me, sir," Sarah said calmly, "you dropped those eggs. It's only courteous to clean up after yourself." Officer Parker turned with a scoff, looking her up and down with an air of superiority. "Who do you think you are?" he sneered. "Not everything needs to be treated like a big deal." Sarah remained unfazed, her voice steady but firm. "As someone who wears a uniform meant to protect and serve, you should set an example, even in the smallest actions. Picking up after yourself shows respect for others." Rather than taking responsibility, Officer Parker smirked and dismissed her words with arrogance, dismissing Sarah as a mere bystander. "You're just a woman, don't tell me about respect." "I don't have time for this nonsense," he scoffed. The tension in the store was palpable, but Sarah stood her ground. Her years of experience as a leader in difficult situations had taught her to face conflict with unwavering resolve. "Your actions speak volumes about your character, sir. It's not just about cleaning up, it's about showing integrity, even in the little things." Parker, visibly annoyed, continued to belittle her, his dismissive attitude growing more pronounced. But Sarah's stance never wavered. She knew this wasn't just a confrontation, it was an opportunity to stand for something bigger than herself. With a calm but resolute gaze, she pulled out her phone and dialed a number. "Hello," she said when the call connected, "there's a police officer here refusing to take responsibility for his actions. I need immediate assistance." Within minutes, the situation escalated as the local authorities arrived, led by the mayor himself. Officer Parker's smug demeanor faltered as the evidence mounted against him, leaving him exposed for his lack of professionalism. The mayor spoke directly to him, condemning his actions and reminding him that power was earned through respect, not abuse. In the end, Officer Parker lost his badge, while Sarah Hayes remained the epitome of calm strength, a reminder that standing up for integrity, no matter how small the issue, always has a ripple effect. The crowd's quiet applause marked the moment Sarah had won, not just for herself, but for everyone who believed in accountability and respect. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon when Lieutenant Jessica Taylor walked into a local grocery store in Chicago. Dressed casually in jeans and a t-shirt, she seemed just like any other shopper. To the unknowing eye, she blended in effortlessly, but Jessica was a seasoned officer, a leader with years of service. Her mission today was simple: buying groceries for her family, escaping the pressures of her demanding job for a brief moment of peace. However, peace was soon shattered by a small but significant encounter. As she strolled down an aisle, Officer Luke Harrison, in full police uniform, clumsily knocked over a stack of cans. He glanced at the mess, shrugged, and walked away without a care in the world. Jessica observed, feeling a surge of frustration. Her training had taught her that even the smallest actions mattered. With a composed breath, she approached Harrison. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her voice calm yet firm. "You've dropped these cans. It's your responsibility to pick them up." Luke turned slowly, a mocking smile creeping across his face. "Who do you think you are, telling me what to do?" he retorted, his voice dripping with disdain. "Just a woman who thinks she knows better? I don't have time for this." The word stung, but Jessica didn't flinch. She stood tall, unwavering. As a police officer, it's not just about enforcing laws. It's about setting an example for others, no matter how small the action. Luke's smirk deepened as he leaned in, his voice turning venomous. You don't know anything about what it means to be a cop. You're just a woman who thinks she's important. He paused, his eyes narrowing with arrogance. Who cares if I pick up a few cans? This isn't worth your time. Jessica's eyes locked onto his with a piercing gaze. It's about respect, she replied, each word measured. Respect for others, respect for your profession. If you can't manage the little things, how can you be trusted with bigger responsibilities? The tension in the store was now palpable, with shoppers beginning to notice the escalating exchange. Luke's tone became more aggressive. You think you can lecture me? You're nothing but a troublemaker. But Jessica remained calm, her resolve like steel. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm here to remind you that being in uniform means something. You represent more than yourself. With that, Jessica pulled out her phone and made a call. Yes, I need immediate assistance. There's a police officer here who is refusing to take responsibility for his actions. Within moments, sirens echoed through the parking lot, and officers arrived. Luke's arrogance faded as his actions were laid bare, his behavior exposed for all to see. The crowd was now watching, some even recording the incident. Jessica stood firm, a quiet strength radiating from her. As the mayor arrived on the scene, he immediately addressed the situation, condemning Luke's behavior. You're a disgrace to your uniform, the mayor said firmly. You've lost your right to wear it. The officers promptly stripped Luke of his badge, and the crowd erupted in applause. Jessica, though humble, felt a sense of victory. This was a victory for respect, responsibility, and accountability. In that moment, she proved that integrity always prevails over arrogance. It was just another afternoon when Captain Rachel Adams walked into a quiet corner store in downtown Seattle. She was dressed casually in jeans and a hoodie, her appearance nothing out of the ordinary. For anyone who didn't know, Rachel might have looked like just another shopper, but beneath that humble exterior was a woman who had spent decades leading troops, making tough calls in the most intense situations. Today, however, she sought nothing more than a peaceful moment to grab a few items. As she moved down the aisle, her attention was drawn to Officer Mark Davis, who had clumsily knocked over a stack of plastic bottles. Rather than taking responsibility, Davis simply walked away, leaving the mess for others to deal with. Rachel paused for a moment, her military training kicking in. She couldn't let such carelessness slide. With a deep breath, Rachel approached the officer. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You've left a mess behind. It would be good if you could clean it up." Davis turned to face her, his face already displaying a look of superiority. "Who do you think you are, telling me what to do?" he sneered. "You don't know anything about being a cop." Rachel stood her ground, maintaining her composure. "I know about responsibility, and you, as a police officer, should lead by example. Picking up after yourself isn't just a courtesy, it's a sign of respect, for others and for your profession." Mark scoffed, his arrogance turning into mockery. "You're just some woman who thinks she knows better than me. You should mind your own business." The tension was rising, with more people in the store beginning to take notice of the confrontation. But Rachel's demeanor never faltered. "Your attitude reflects more than just a bad moment. It shows a lack of accountability. And I'm not the only one here who's watching." Mark sneered, dismissing her words with a chuckle. "You think this is important? It's just a few bottles. Get over it." Rachel's eyes didn't leave his. "It's not just about bottles. It's about integrity, and how you treat those around you. You're a public servant, and your actions matter." As more people watched the exchange, Rachel felt a growing sense of solidarity. She knew her actions were being witnessed, not just by the people in the store, but by a greater force that demanded respect and responsibility from everyone, regardless of their role. "I don't need to argue with you," Rachel continued, her voice unwavering. "I'm here to remind you that your behavior has consequences, both for you and for the community you serve." Mark's bravado began to crack. His smirk faded as the realization set in that this wasn't a fight he could win. Without another word, he reached down to clean up the mess, but the damage was already done. Rachel stood firm, knowing that in this small moment, she had stood for something bigger than herself: accountability, respect, and the courage to speak out when it mattered most. It was an ordinary afternoon when Lieutenant Olivia Carter stepped into a local grocery store in Sacramento. She was dressed simply in a sweatshirt and jeans, trying to blend in with the everyday shoppers. To the unknowing eye, Olivia was just another woman picking up a few groceries. But beneath her casual appearance was a woman with years of experience in law enforcement, someone who had dedicated her life to serving her community. As she reached for a carton of milk, Olivia noticed a disturbance at the end of the aisle. Officer Kyle Mitchell, in full uniform, had dropped a box of cereal. Instead of picking it up, he walked away without a second thought. His disregard for the mess stood out, but it was his arrogance that caught Olivia's attention. Her instincts as an officer kicked in. She approached him calmly. "Excuse me, sir, you dropped those," she said, her voice steady but firm. "It's your responsibility to pick them up." Kyle turned, a sneer forming on his face as he looked her up and down. "Who do you think you are, telling me what to do?" he spat. "Just because you wear a uniform doesn't mean you get to lecture me. I'm busy." Olivia remained composed, keeping her gaze fixed on him. As an officer, it's not just about enforcing the law. It's about setting an example for others. Picking up after yourself is part of that responsibility. Instead of acknowledging his mistake, Kyle scoffed and stepped back, his arrogance growing. "You're just another woman trying to tell me what to do. I don't have time for your nonsense." The tension in the store was palpable, and people started to notice the escalating exchange. Olivia could feel eyes on her, but she remained unshaken. She knew she had to stand up for what was right. With a calm but firm voice, Olivia reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the authorities," she said, her words clear. "Your behavior is unacceptable, and I won't stand by and let it slide." As Olivia dialed the number, the atmosphere in the store grew heavier. People began to whisper, some even pulling out their phones to record the confrontation. Within minutes, sirens could be heard outside, signaling that help was on the way. Soon, a police car arrived, and to Olivia's relief, the mayor, Charles Evans, stepped out as well. His presence immediately commanded attention. He approached Olivia, who calmly explained the situation, recounting the officer's disregard for his duties and his insults. Mayor Evans, his expression stern, turned to Kyle. "You've abused your position and insulted a fellow officer. That's not something we tolerate in this city," he said, his voice steady and authoritative. The officers quickly removed Kyle from the scene, his badge and weapon taken away as the crowd watched. Olivia stood firm, feeling the weight of the moment. The incident had been recorded, and it was clear that Kyle's actions would have consequences. Olivia's calm, decisive actions proved that standing up for integrity, even in the face of disrespect, was a responsibility we all share. As the crowd applauded, she knew that this small moment would resonate beyond the store. It was a reminder that power, when abused, always meets its reckoning. The situation at the grocery store had unfolded quickly, but the consequences would take longer to unravel. After the confrontation between Lieutenant Claire Matthews and Officer Rick Harrison, things began to escalate. The video footage of Rick's rude and arrogant behavior had already made its rounds on social media, drawing attention from the public. But it wasn't until Mayor Laura Sinclair reviewed the evidence that things truly began to shift. Mayor Sinclair was known for her strong leadership and commitment to justice. When she saw the footage of Officer Harrison belittling Claire, the anger in her eyes was clear. This wasn't just a personal altercation, it was a public reminder that those entrusted with power must be held accountable. After a thorough investigation, the city's police department began its own review. The footage was undeniable. Rick's behavior was not only unprofessional, but it also undermined the trust the community had in their law enforcement officers. His actions were not the isolated mistake of a single moment but a reflection of a deeper problem that needed to be addressed. Claire's courage in the store had sparked a ripple effect, one that led to a full-blown inquiry. As Mayor Sinclair addressed the media, she made a statement that left no room for doubt. Abuse of power will not be tolerated. Officer Harrison's actions have betrayed the trust of this city and the badge he wore. The mayor's words carried weight. Within hours, Officer Harrison was stripped of his badge and gun, officially suspended from his duties. His dismissal wasn't just a punishment, it was a statement. The integrity of law enforcement was not something to be compromised, no matter the rank or position. As the news spread, the public reaction was swift. People from all walks of life expressed their support for Claire, applauding her bravery and her unwavering commitment to justice. Meanwhile, Rick, once so sure of his own superiority, found himself facing legal charges and public disgrace. This wasn't just a win for Claire, it was a victory for accountability and respect. The ripple effect of her decision to stand firm that day had reached far beyond the grocery store, and the impact would be felt for a long time to come. After the incident in the grocery store, Lieutenant Madison Clarke's courage quickly became a beacon of integrity. What had begun as a simple act of holding a fellow officer accountable had now sparked a widespread conversation across the community. People from all walks of life, from everyday citizens to public figures, rallied behind Madison, applauding her for standing firm in the face of disrespect. Her actions were now seen as a powerful reminder of the importance of accountability and the duty each of us has to uphold the values of respect and responsibility. As the days passed, the situation continued to unfold. Officer Jake Carter, once brimming with arrogance, found himself at the center of a public storm. His behavior not only cost him his job but also led to serious legal consequences. His once proud reputation as a law enforcement officer quickly crumbled as the evidence against him mounted. The video footage, shared across social media, was a powerful testament to his abuse of power, and Madison's decision to take action was praised by many as the catalyst for real change. Despite the overwhelming support, Madison remained humble. She had never sought fame or recognition. For her, it had always been about doing what was right. But as the world took notice, her simple act of courage became something much bigger, a symbol of how one individual, willing to stand up for justice, could make a profound impact. Madison continued her work, knowing the fight for justice wasn't over. She knew that accountability had to be a continuous effort, and her actions were just one step in the larger movement for change. But the admiration she received was a testament to how powerful integrity and courage could be when faced with adversity. Let Madison's story be a reminder to all of us: sometimes, it only takes one person to stand firm and make a difference. If you believe in justice, integrity, and holding others accountable, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories and updates on the fight for a fairer world.